you know we love to kayak. So we thought we'd try something new, stand-up paddleboarding. So for the first time ever, both Ari and I got to try out a stand-up paddleboard today.
And that is courtesy of Valwix, a company that reached out to us and wanted to know if they could send us their Odyssey inflatable stand-up paddleboard to give it a test, review its features, and let you know what we think about it. And I think first impressions, I really like it.
Yeah, having not supped, I guess I don't know what the proper term is, everybody calls it a sup. I know a lot of friends that have one, they love theirs. I just haven't had the chance to try one. So yeah, first impressions were pretty good once we kind of figured out the techniques involved. So I think this is sort of a review of not only just the specific one we received, but like SUP in general, because there is a little bit of a learning curve to it.
Well, what I liked about this one is I think it's a good one to start with. I mean, I think it's nice and stable. It's a 12-foot stand-up paddleboard, and it just feels, you know, it's not super expensive. And so I think that's a nice way to kind of get started and see if this is something you really want to do. And I know some people don't like inflatable stand-up paddleboards in particular, because I've heard people mention it's hard to know exactly how much pressure you have in them and that kind of thing. And Valwix is very big on this electric pump, and I'll go into that in just a minute. And there's a reason why this is a really nice feature that they send that with, to pump it up. But let's talk about the board itself. Like I said, it's 12 feet long. Once it's pumped up, it's 12 to 15 PSI. I think that depends on your conditions and the weight, because it'll hold 350 pounds, which neither of us are near that. So we didn't pump it up all the way. But, you know, it's got a lot of nice features to it.
One of the features that we really like about our kayak are the skids that go on the bottom that help you track. And the stand-up paddleboard, this one comes with 3 removable ones. So it works great for easy folding, because that's one complaint we've always had about our kayak, is that they're stuck to it. So when you're trying to fold it flat, you can never get it flat. So I really like that these are detachable, but they do hook in and snap in with a little mechanism so that they don't fall out, which I thought was really great. What's really nice about the paddles specifically and that come with it is, as you know, it's stand up, so you want it so it's really long and you can do this motion, but you can also, it comes with a third paddle part that you can turn it into more of a kayak paddle, so that you can actually sit on the board and treat it more as a kayak, which you found actually that worked pretty well today, because we did try both versions.
Well, because neither of us have used SUPs before, we were both trying to get the handle on, no pun intended, a handle on how you turn and how do you stop, that kind of thing. And when I decided to use the board as almost like a sit-on kayak, and we put the paddles together, I took off and I'm like, hey, this feels a lot more familiar and I know how to steer now. So, but that's a nice feature. And you then went out later with it, with both parts of the paddle with you. One of them strapped into the cargo area and one of them attached. And so you started out with the double as a kayak, and then you decided to stand up later, so you just switched the end of the paddles. Which is also a nice feature of this board, is it does have bungee straps built onto it, so you can carry stuff with you. We strapped the paddle into it. But you might be able to put other things underneath it, because they are expandable, so you could carry some cargo with you if you're going to be out for longer.
Your water bottle, you know, a towel, a dry bag, anything of that nature that you might want to have with you. If you were going out for more, we were just going out in the river and kind of tooling around, but if you were actually going to go on an adventure, yeah, you'd probably want to take some stuff with you, snacks, what have you.
And Valwix is nice. As part of the package, they send you a 20-liter dry bag.
Yeah.
So it comes with a dry bag, and then it also has numerous D-rings all around the outside of it. So if you have your cargo strapped in, you might want to just latch it on in case something does fall off. It's not going to float away from you, and you still have it in easy reach. So that's nice to have that feature on there as well.
In addition to the dry bag, it comes in a really nice carrying bag that has backpack straps on it. And all in told, it's supposed to be about 22 pounds. And one of the biggest complaints I've always had about our kayak is that I cannot carry that thing by myself. There's just no way. It's too long, it's too bulky, I can't get my arms around it. It's very awkward. And this is much easier. So even when it was fully inflated, despite the fact that it's way longer than I am, it has a nice holding strap in the middle, and if you kind of grab onto one of those D-rings, I was actually able to pick it up and walk it from the car down to the river. And then in that carrying bag with those backpack straps, same thing. It's almost as tall as I am. It's a little goofy, but I can carry it. So this could be a one-person operation, which I've always felt that our kayak, even though it's kind of designed for one, maybe two persons, I've never been able to do it on my own. So that's a nice feature of the SUP, is that I could totally do this by myself.
Well, the bag itself is a nice quality, and I think the whole package, I'll give them credit. It is a very nice quality. It seems like it's all well put together. But you have the backpack straps for when you're carrying it. But then if you're trying to load it into the car or take it out of the car, there's a handle on top, there's a handle on the side, there's handles everywhere. So you can really get a good grip on it and maneuver it. because the bag is large enough. You can fit the SUP in there, you can fit the air pump, you can fit the fins, the paddles, everything goes inside. So it's really nice. So it's all contained in one nice package for when you are traveling from location to location. I mentioned the electric pump that comes with this, and Valwix is very excited about this pump. So, and I can understand why. It's actually a really nice electric pump. It comes with a DC plug, so it goes into your car's 12-volt plug, so you can run it with your engine running, so you don't drain your battery down. But you plug it in, you hook it up to the valve on the stand-up paddleboard for inflation, and then you set the digital inflation here for your PSI for what you want. So it says 12 to 15 is recommended. I think we ended up doing 13 was what we did, and it worked really well in the water we were in. But you tell it you want 13 PSI, you hit start, and it starts out with like almost like a low speed fan on it. And what it's doing is we figured out till about 1 PSI, it's just starting to get those chambers filled. So it's starting to expand the SUP that's been all folded up. And then once it hits about 1 PSI, this thing kicks into high gear. And it's quite a bit louder. It's not terrible, but it's got a pretty good noise to it. And then it's going to fill for a while, and it's going to take that thing, and that board is going to be nice and stiff. It's going to be really well put together and give you some, there's not much flexibility to it once it's
Which is
up.
good. You want it to be hard. And I think that's one thing with same thing with the kayak too. Half the time we're doing it, with the foot pump. But when we have used an electric pump, it's not quite as accurate, I guess, and we have a little bit more wiggle room, and it tells you not to overinflate it. So I like the fact that this kind of tells you specifically exactly what you're at, so you know that you're not going over or under too much. Yeah,
it keeps track as it's filling, so you know what its status is. And it took about 10 minutes to get to 13 PSI. And then what I really like about it is you can be walking around doing other things while this is filling up your SUP, because when it hit 13 PSI, it shuts off automatically. That is very, very handy. You don't have to stand there and watch it the whole time.
I did find that really handy. What I also found handy was that it has a deflate function as well. So if you just flip the nozzle and flip the switch to the deflate version, it'll go like super quick and get that thing down to a pancake, making it much easier to fold up when you're all said and done. Also, because it's deflated pretty flat, it also dries really easily too. So you can pretty much quickly fold it up, pack it away, and be done in maybe less than 10 minutes. So it is pretty quick, easy process.
I was surprised. I think when we pulled it out of the water and we flipped it over and I grabbed a towel to kind of dry it off, I even commented, I'm like, wow, the water like beads up on this thing. So a very small towel, wiped it down, and it was dry in no time. And that's nice, because when it's an inflatable, you're probably going to have to fold it up. I know when we're in the van or in the Jeep, whatever we're driving, we have to fold stuff up to get it somewhere. So it's nice having that feature and that ability to get it small quickly again.
Given that this was our first time for both of us on a stand-up paddleboard, it was a good experience.
I agree. I think that stand-up paddleboard, there's going to be a learning curve when you get your balance and you figure out how to get on and off of it without falling in. But for this model, the learning curve wasn't bad in terms of getting this thing taken out of the bag, put together, inflated. It just wasn't a chore, so that was nice that we weren't all tired out from doing that before we even hit the water. So the Valwix Odyssey seems to be a really nice unit, and if you're interested, I'm going to put a link in the description where you can find it online. And I'm actually talking to Valwix about a discount code for Trekkers viewers and followers, so if I can manage that, I'll throw that down in the description as well and on our social media, so keep an eye out for it. Maybe you can get a nice paddleboard that's not really expensive, and you can even get it a little bit cheaper thanks to that discount. In the meantime, keep on trekking.
And we'll see you out there.